amigos, and welcome to the last show on Televida. It's 2025. Happy New Year, everybody, 2025. For one of our first shows, I thought I'd get a lawyer, and then I thought I'd get a comedian. Then comedian, lawyer. What's the difference? There is no difference because our guest tonight on the last show is both. Our guest is comedian John Loss. We'll be right back with him after you see this clip of John Loss.
From Kansas City, Missouri, contestant number 13, John Loss.
I wanted to make a great first impression. That's why I'm rocking these relaxed fit skinny jeans tonight. What do you guys think? Sad part is, this is what my skin looks like underneath here. This is why I've been banned from every public swimming pool in the continental United States. I am a lawyer, and my last name is Loss, L-O-S-S. How many people do you think would hire a lawyer named Loss? I love to shop at like Costco, these big box stores, because I like to see what they're selling in bulk. At my Costco, you can buy a casket, but you have to buy 3 of them shrink wrapped together. I bought a 50-gallon tub of mayonnaise 3 years ago. I think it's still good, although I do hallucinate a little bit when I put it on a sandwich. But the other day, as I was pushing my cart towards the register with its 60 rolls of toilet paper, I was thinking, in light of my age, in the advances in adult diaper technology, this is probably the last toilet paper I'm ever going to buy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Elliot.
You know, I've never thought about that much toilet paper. I never did the actuarial table on how many 60 packs does. That's a good point. That's a good point. I've never heard of men's dependent undergarment technology to the advances. Must be amazing.
Well, I figure, there will be no underwear in like 30 years.
Exactly. So let's get this out of the way. I said comedian lawyer. You're a lawyer.
Yes, sir.
You're a bona fide lawyer, a real lawyer.
Yes.
Talks to judges and everything.
I've been practicing for 45 years.
We're not talking about like Sal Goodman, right? We're talking about a real lawyer.
No, I've never done anything like this. I'm not a drug dealer.
You've not represented med
clear
dealers.
up front.
Where did you go to law school at?
St. Louis University.
Catholic school.
Jesuits.
Isn't that kind of our version of Rockers, St. Louis?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They accepted me, so I went there.
There you go. So how did you end up in Kansas City from being a St. Louis lawyer?
Well,
because you're originally, I know this, from Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Exactly.
He's a cheesehead, folks.
Nothing wrong with that. Well, I came over to Kansas City to work for a judge as a clerk. And so I was married, and we had rented a truck with another friend, and we just piled over here. I'd asked my wife to find us a place to live. I'd been interviewed by 6 judges. I got a letter asking me to come. I couldn't remember which one, so I didn't really know until the first day I got to work.
You just said, hey, whatever, judge.
Yeah. Not to say I was desperate. Don't get me wrong.
So that was the start.
That got me started. I had not. Only connection was I knew one person here.
That was one. So let me ask you this: in all those years, is there a lot of similarity between being a lawyer and being a comedian who speaks on stage? Because from what I see on TV, they always seem to be speechifying.
Exactly. Both kind of an acting thing. First of all,
You see lawyers, they're acting when they're doing this up there?
I took a seminar, How to Be Sincere, so. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, how to be sincere. So tell me about, do they like I remember when I would do like 5-minute sets and 8-minute sets, we'd run up and scribble our notes. Do lawyers do the same thing before they talk?
Oh, yeah. Closing arguments were usually 40 or 45 minutes.
Oh my God, that's a long time.
So I'd write it out 3 or 4 times, but then I'd do something totally different when I got up there. I did not read from a script. I just got everything down and then just kind of went with the flow. You have to be more organized when you're doing comedy because of the time limits. And
well, I always see the lawyers, they would make their speech and they kind of glance over the legal pad. That's what you do, right?
That's what you do.
You got to walk over so hard, and then they kind of go back on.
You don't want to do that very much because the jury's thinking you don't know what you're talking about.
How do you keep, and much like comedy, you said those closing summations are 45 minutes, that's a headline set.
Yes, it is.
So you have to keep, but you have an audience of 12?
12 people,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to keep them engaged. If you see anybody nod off, you just talk louder or you drop something to make sure you can
Are
wake
you
them up.
serious?
It's
Oh
happened.
my God.
It's happened.
Well, 45 minutes is a long time. Those guys have already been in there a while.
Well, and here's the thing: all the judges tell us that nobody listens after the first 15 minutes, but the lawyers don't believe that. In fact, that's why you see closing arguments 2 hours long, but the last hour and 45 minutes are just kind of that. So Law and Order is a perfect example.
Okay.
They do closing arguments in 3 minutes, and they hit the points that you need to hit. I was impressed by that. So I always made mine shorter. You have to tell them how much time you want. I always took less time than I wanted, and because the longer you go, the bigger chance you're gonna lose them.
That's an excellent point, because especially nowadays, the people in the jury, they're the same TikTok short attention span stimulus. So you got to keep them awake.
Yes, it's even more prevalent now. Maybe the first 3 minutes you got to get your point.
What type of were you doing? Crime or
No, I was doing civil law. I was doing lawsuits, both defending and representing people who had been injured by products or in car accidents or fell down or had contract disputes. And
oh my God, that's already boring. How do you keep people 45 minutes? Contract dispute? You got a jury and you got to make them stay awake for 10 minutes on contract? I'm sleepy just saying the word contract dispute. Oh my God.
it's incredible too. What you never know what the jury's thinking. And I had a case where this guy moved next door to me. He says, "I was on your jury." It's a good thing that I was, because as soon as we got in the jury room, they started talking about how much money they wanted to give against your client. I had to turn them around. So I'm always kind of afraid of asking juries what they talk about, because sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with the case. But you use a lot of visual aids. Again, now there's much more sophisticated. When I was in the bulk of it, you used poster boards and blowed up pictures and things like that. But now you can create your videos and recreations, animations, all that stuff. I never got to the point where I use that, but it's a different world now. Yeah.
Well, that was the world of law. We're going to talk about the world of comedy when we get back with John Laws. We got another clip we're going to play right this. We'll be back with John Laws.
I do have a website. It's called YourLossIsMyGain.com. Check it out. I'm running a Groupon this month on speeding tickets and divorces. Those two seem to go together. I'm also an ordained minister in the Universal Church of Life, so I'm offering a package deal for $500. I will do your prenup, I'll do the ceremony, I'll do 10 minutes of stand-up at the reception, and I'll give you a $200 deposit on a divorce. You stayed married more than 6 years, you get the $200 back. I am an empty nester. I moved into a one-bedroom apartment to make sure my kids couldn't move back in.
Rotary phones. My God. That is, I remember the rotary phones. You talk to your kids about it. Actual phone is the rotary phone. I remember that. I remember that you'd have the kitchen rotary phone with the extension cord that would almost go out the front door to the mailbox, right? You had that long cord you could actually walk. It gave you some running room, and oh my gosh.
Did you have party lines?
We did not have party lines.
I'm older than that.
Yeah.
We used to listen in on those, and we get in trouble. But the audience, I tell them to look it up, because I get this blank look when I mention rotary phones.
The weird thing about it is that the cell phones are so ubiquitous and you have so much control with them. I don't know what my kids' phone numbers are. They're just my kids' names. I have no idea. If somebody put a gun to my head and said, "Call your son," I could call Southwest Airlines. I could call Delta, 1-800-221-1212. I could call American Airlines, 1-800-443-7300. I cannot call my son. I just have to book a flight. They call me up, "We're going to kill your son." "Well, where do you want to fly to?" That's all I would say.
Yeah, I get you.
All right, so let's talk about how the lawyer who comes out from St. Louis, works in judges and goes into private practice, why does this lawyer decide to become a comedian?
Well, I went to, a friend of mine called me up, asked me if I wanted to go to a comedy show. This was about 10 years ago, and it was Stanford and Sons. And it was kind of an open mic. And
You remember who you saw? Was it an open mic or a
It
regular
was
show?
an open mic, and there was like 5 or 6 comedians. And I just dawned on me, I can do this. So then I got a hold of him, went out to the open mic night at there. I let all my friends know. 65 people showed up for the open
wow,
mic.
that's what you need to do.
They never had more than
Now
4.
that's pretty risky waters because you never performed. You're bringing
No.
60 people out for your
I
first
did.
time. What are you doing, man? You bring 60 people after you got to work at it.
I think
You
that's,
don't have 65 of your friends see you suck the first time. But anyway,
That's
65 of your people.
that's called unearned confidence.
Exactly.
And so I get up there, and they kept moving me down the list because they didn't want people to leave.
Hey, man, that's the strategy, baby. I get that. You're going on last. You're closing.
And the guy before started, he says, now to the comedians, he says, now we've got an adult audience out here tonight. This is kind of what it's like in the real world. So, act accordingly. But it went terrific. So I got it in with them. And
Of course you did. You brought 65 people to Stanford and Sons.
I never
Yes,
did that again.
You were in.
I never did it again. But I got to open for some people, which was fun.
Who?
The guy he was the other MC on American Idol.
Oh, I know who you're
I
talking
can't
about.
remember his
Well, that's the point because he quit his job on American
Yeah.
Idol. Bart Winkelman or whatever.
it's something like that.
Yeah.
And
Famous mistakes in careers,
Yes.
leaving American Idol.
and then this redheaded woman who's become really famous.
Kathy Griffin.
No, this lady actually did the correspondence dinner, one of the last ones.
I know.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do know what you're talking about. She was already. We'll find out who these names are, but the point is that that's the way comedy starts. You get all your friends in there, and the great thing about that is, and this is how I got started, even way back in the ancient ages, is that you're nervous. The best way to get over your nerves is to see a bunch of people be bad at it because the bar is set low in your mind. It's like,
right.
I'm better than that guy. He sucks. I can do better than that guy. I can do better. And that, seeing these other people suck ass makes you think, I should go up.
I'm glad I didn't see anybody
And worse,
good.
I'm not as bad as those guys. And that's what it was with me. That was the way it was for you,
I was
right?
afraid to say that. Yeah, but that's true.
Yeah. So you go in the next day, and how many minutes they give you? Do you remember who the MC was?
Well, it's Craig, of course.
Okay, yeah. Craig Glazier on Stanford, you running 65 people. You're lucky you weren't headlining the next day.
He did like
Yeah.
15 minutes. He could not bear to get off the stage. He never had that big of
Craig
an
Glazier was the owner of Stanford and Sons, rest his soul, and he was the guy who was so interested in blowing smoke up the audience that I'd walk off stage it's like, I have all those credits. You know what I mean? He introduced me like, oh my God, I didn't know
Didn't
that.
you were that good?
Yeah, I didn't know that I was Robin Williams' best friend. But apparently, I am, according to this intro. So when was that?
2014. And his brother came up to me during the show and said, you can do longer if you want,
Yeah.
but I didn't have, I only had 5 minutes ready. And
The great thing about comedy is that, because I've kind of been in it the whole time, but I appreciate it now as an older person because I appreciate it. I mean, it's like a vacation. Some people go fishing. We do comedy. Some people play golf. We do comedy.
Yes.
And I enjoy it that much. And the great thing about it is because you're doing you travel on the road too, is that I treat these road gigs like nostalgia because I don't know if I ever get back to them. So it's like I'm going to really enjoy this road gig inside the moment and do everything like that. It's not just
there was a point where I would travel 600 or 700 miles to do 30 minutes and just drive back.
I remember last time I talked to you, you went to Arkansas to work at an old folks home.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
I don't know when you're our age and ask you to work for old folks home. I don't know if it's a recruitment trip like a football.
Yeah, we did.
John, great show.
I tried to
bed for you.
tried to work the audience, but I will only get back with dead silence and nudge the guy next to you. But I've gone up to Michigan. I've gone to South Dakota. I mean,
You've even worked where you're from.
Kenosha, that's been the most
Wisconsin.
fun.
Yeah.
And my dad got to see me, and I was really glad that happened because he passed away at 96, about
How old was your dad when he saw you perform?
probably late 80s. And,
Late 80s.
and he had all these girlfriends,
Yeah,
and
that's
they all came to the show too.
Hey, don't hate a player. Don't hate a play. Just because you ain't got game, as evidenced by the video we just saw, don't hanging out on your dad. there.
Exactly.
I love it. And you know, but the thing is, you're very industrious. You won the Irma Bomback comedy contest. Tell me about
I
that.
don't. Well, I was part of it. I don't. Yeah, it was mostly for writing, but they had a section about comedy, and they had a show the last night. We each got up and did our stuff, and it went very well.
You'd be surprised how many lawyers do stand-up comedy in the whole mosaic of the whole stand-up
I've seen a
comedy
lot.
scene.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about it. I think every lawyer who's just a regular lawyer should actually go to comedy because there's things you can learn from stand-up comedy that you can
Absolutely.
apply, right? I mean, making all those other things, making eye contact, keeping attention, everything like that.
Keeping it short. Keeping it short. I mean,
No excess verbiage.
don't say in 20 words what you can say in 5. That's the most valuable lesson
That's the key.
that you get.
You know, one thing I learned about comedy is that I would have this elaborate bit. It's like, okay, and I took my dog, and the laugh would be like, and I took my dog to the vet. There would be the laugh, and then I said I brought him home, and then I realized that the end of the joke is at the laugh. I don't need to necessarily
Yeah.
finish this part of the story. The end of the joke is where the big laugh
That's
is,
a big, yeah.
and then you move on. And just much like in legal business, after you make your point, that's it,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you have to give the audience or the jury as much credit.
Well, that happened to me last Saturday. I said to the crowd, I'm starting the year off with a clean slate. I had a colonoscopy last week.
Mhm.
I should have stopped there. Then I said, well, then they tell me I'm going to have another one. And then when I got off stage, these guys told me, well, that joke became very, very sad because people were thinking how old you
Really? That was excess information,
Yeah,
right?
I should have just stopped.
You just stop. You just stop. It's
So
like-
next time, but that's the only way you learn is you try these things.
Exactly. After you're doing a wonderful dog bit, you go, well, that dog got hit by a car. So that's my
Kind
omen
of brings
to
people down.
old rough.
You
Yeah,
just
exactly.
stop. You need somebody out there
Exactly.
to point at you.
So we don't know when this is going to come on necessarily, but what have you got in your comedy career coming up? You kind of
Well,
back it.
I'm really excited. I'm going to be in the Tokyo Club in Columbia, Missouri this
Tokyo
Saturday.
Club.
Are you familiar with the
Missouri.
Tokyo Club?
No, I'm not.
All right. And it's
Familiar with Tokyo, though.
yeah. This is in Columbia, Missouri. It's not in Tokyo, Elliot.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll make that clear. Yeah, so I'm a feature for. They haven't even told me who the headliner is. But,
Now, what is your now? Everybody's going to say, what is your website here? You have it's johnloss.com or
it's John Lost Funny.
John Loss
Yeah,
Funny.
yeah.
johnlossfunny.com.
Yes.
johnlossfunny.com.
Yes.
He's got shows coming up. John Loss, thank you for being here. We're going to play another clip on the way out. John Loss, thank you.
Oh,
This has been John Loss on The Last Show. I'm LA3. Adios.
I actually grew up on the mean streets of Kenosha, Wisconsin. People from Wisconsin are very private. I was taught growing up that it was rude to make eye contact with anyone. That's why Wisconsin has the highest unsolved crime rate in America. You guys are ahead of me. There's no such thing as an eyewitness. Hey! Strange thing happened to me a couple of weeks ago. My credit rating went up. Hadn't done anything different. After it stayed up a couple of days, I realized somebody'd stolen my identity and was doing better with it than I was. I didn't report it. I just went out and got a car loan for the first time in my life. My granddaughter Izzy is my biggest fan. She gave me a joke she wants me to tell you tonight. Now keep in mind she's 9 years old, and you don't want to break a little girl's heart, so please laugh. What do you call a boomerang that doesn't come back? A stick. Come on. Made her very happy. She invited me to a grandparents' day at her school this year, and I couldn't help but notice while the teacher was talking all the attractive grandmas that were there by themselves. So I started to think this might be a way to meet age-appropriate women. So now I've been going to grandparents' days at schools where I don't have any grandkids. Now, before you call social services. Let me ask you, what's wrong with giving a little companionship to a small child or a lonely grandma? I think it's a win-win situation. This year started off great for me. I had met a woman through my favorite online dating site, it'salmostover.com. You know the one, no pictures, no questions. Just send in your latest 401k statement, any special dietary needs. We got along fine until we realized that her favorite show and my favorite show came on at the same time. Since neither one of us knew how to use the DVR to make a recording, we had to break up. So then I decided to jump on Tinder. After a few swipes, I got scared, so I had to jump right back off. So then I signed up for this thing called Tinder for Seniors. It was actually called Cinder, C-I-N-D-E-R. You know what's left after the fire goes out? All you needed was a landline and a rotary phone, and everybody knows what a rotary phone is. So you guys know what a rotary phone is. And after a few days of no activity, I put on my profile. I could drive at night, and the phone hasn't stopped ringing since. Thank you.